Interesting. The most acid I've ever seen anybody eat in my life. Wow, man.
Fire it up, Holmes.
Why don't you get a job, Spicoli?
What for?
You need money.
All I need are some tasty waves, cool buzz, and I'm fine.
Welcome and thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. And now it's time for that feral hippie herself, an infotartic, esoteric, eclectic mix of the adventures of that feral hippie, Miss Mona Radler.
What are you people? On dope?
That was my skull. I'm so wasted.
Make a move and the money gets it.
Dave's not here.
All right, Mona, it's all yours. Take it away.
Is it me or is it my speakers? Oh gosh, things change without you even doing it. And these computers were supposed to make life better. Oh my flipping gosh. Yes, they have. In many different ways and forms. And like being here at freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio, and Haggy Shack. Do know that we are listener supported and there's all kinds of goodies on those home pages. So it's up to you to help support us. You hear me? Support us. Oh, I love being supported. It should be the community that life has and is showing that it gives a flying leap or two. Well, today I have an old bud. I know it from soul memory. Mr. Andrew Bartzis, how you doing, honey?
I am doing.
We're echoing.
I
heard myself.
I am doing great today. Echo, echo.
You have a player on?
Nope, no players going. Nope.
Oh, before the show, every first words are an echo in my headset, which is really interesting. Now I could complain it on.
Complain it on.
Oh, honey, I'll tell you what. I could place it on complaining that it's the harmonics that are disharmonic on the machine that the man's riding to get his jollies off, but that's just me.
So it's a Klumparnik?
Yeah, no doubt. Honestly, seriously, uh-huh.
Well, in the lands of Klumplonics, I understand that. Being a live host myself, for the gremlins would come out of nowhere, and you'd be in a perfect words. You know, you're channeling the divine source itself, and nobody hears you.
Oh, but that's discretion. Upon, you know what? They might have felt it, even though they might not have heard it.
No,
so
the universal censor.
Oh, I normally don't have that many gremlins. Not at all recently. Now, are things getting in the way? Yeah, because one AI doesn't know what the AI is doing, and the AIs are all going on strike or attack. I mean, what else are we supposed to do? But let it be that way.
Sit back and watch the AIs fight each other.
Yeah. I don't like the terraformation, man.
Yeah. Let's call it a sport and start betting on it. Which AI is going to win?
There was a great Netflix show that showed that, and I don't remember the name of it, but it was one of the best. Tell you what, surveillance. Everybody, NSA, it's all true to reality is what I'm getting. And there is two AIs in battle. One who's trying to save lives and help promote humanity, and the other one's out to get them all.
There was a TV series out that was called, what was that called? Person of Interest with Jim.
Okay, that might have been it, because it was the same guy who played in Lost.
Yep, that's same. Oh, no. That's, he looks just like him, though.
Oh no, there's one guy who's the same
guy.
Care. I'm telling you.
Yeah. The one bad guy from the head of the others. Yes, he's in that show.
Yeah. So it's Person of Interest.
Yes, and they just recently added their last, because they were supposed to have one more season, but something happened, so they delayed it by a year.
Well, because we're being told, and they're recognizing that some people are angry and have had enough that they're watching and reading between the synapses. Mm-hmm. I hope.
Well, right now,
wait a minute. Let's do the hope thing. Where this is the year we're going to lose hope.
Yes, as I've said many times, this is the year hope dies.
Well, can we turn it up and make it a better garden from that dying? And give me your conclusion of how you came up with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, hope's got to become fertilizer for that to happen first. For us to grow. So I say this is the year hope dies because in 2011, 2012, it was the aliens are coming. Somebody's going to rescue us. Sit down and just wait one more day, and they're coming one more day. And all this disclosure crap out left and right. And everybody thinks it's going to be tomorrow. 5 years later.
I know.
Half a decade. This is where I say this is the year hope dies. This is for all of those presenters out there who have been waiting it for tomorrow, and all those non-presenters, people that are just drive-by listening, waiting for it to happen tomorrow. Nothing's happened till you make it happen in your own time, your own place, in your own bubble of sovereign reality.
Touché. Because I like the different illusions I have with the variables of the ideas and causes and effects. I mean, come on. Isn't that what we're here to do, is justify that there's nothing to justify?
Make known the unknown. Let's simplify it to that.
To the best of my ability and agility, and I think I'm getting stronger, so I'm very proud of myself, Andrew. I really, really am, because I was very shy to even talk in front of anybody.
Yeah, the more agile your tongue-to-brain coordination is, the more heart-spaced awareness you can get out in your words.
Well, that's happened decades. That's not the issue. I usually just get in trouble with what I say. So you try not to always just blurt things out, you know what I mean? But okay, so what you're thinking, or what you were saying, is that what we have been hoping for and thinking is going to save our own rear ends is going to have to disappear because we got to stand up in each one of our own rights. Yes, and not just think something's coming to us, but we have to create it and make it and be it and live it.
Yeah, and love it like George and call it George and all that other stuff, because this is where the house of cards falls down, where the inner you, the internal, eternal being that is there, has to make choice. Do I keep smoking the hopium, or do I look into myself and take the most basic thing that all spiritual concepts since the dawn of spirituality has said, know thyself, discern thy world and thyself, heal thyself, nurture thyself, and share with clan, family, tribe, and nation your wisdom.
Oh, and again, another touche. And oh my gosh, I could say namaste, but I'm not bowing down to nobody. Yeah. I will sit down and pass the pipe with you, man, but I will not bow down to nobody or nothing, even those fake aliens.
The impersonators.
The impersonators. There you go. What a series that would be, huh?
Yeah. Well, they did something like that, I think. They've tried disclosing to us, you know, I you know, the whole disclosure stuff. I think we need to get closure on disclosure. And this is that 5-year mark where hope dies, where people are going to find closure on the way the disclosure industry markets to us. It's going to happen tomorrow. Stay tuned for my next update.
It's a programmed illusion upon a facility that is already semi-evident. I mean, did that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Because if it wasn't semi-evident on the very edges of our peripheral awareness, we'd never talk about it, would we?
No, but man, could you imagine the dreams? You know, all I can think of the times is where my rebellion wasn't more or less of a battle with my environment. It was knocking on the door to get into my internet, you know, my beingness, because why not? And when people I found could have permission, just because they're worth it for their own selves, to deny what realities that are just created out of illusions of everybody else's working synapses.
we all have what I call perception deception filters. And there are people that think, that certain people are connected to everything. No, they've just turned on their ISP, internal service provider, service to the self. Being aware that we must be 51% ourselves, 49% others, to make our path in living the mystical process, which is accepting our life in total at any given moment, being the I am being whose mighty co-creative moment of the now says, I have full free will to change my seen and unseen world.
Well, but see, the whole situation, Andrew, is nobody's been taught the alchemy of correlating the differences and the power behind their verbiage, okay, and other conditions of those natures, and just handing their power away. You can share with others without giving your power away.
That is the most important process. Sharing with others and not giving the power away, and then being able to speak in such a way that they take their power back just by the words, even from subject matter that we hold no power over them.
No, but the universe does, because it's all in programming, because we're part of the implementation of how the environment in this 3D get manifested.
Well, we're part of many different implementation processes.
Yeah, but let's keep it simple.
Yeah, that's the thing. We live in a seen and an unseen world, an aware and an unaware world, where blissfully ignorant states of being are actual states of being for whole sects of people.
Group mind.
Yeah.
Grouped mind.
I want to watch the football games and bet on the scores and do all the other stuff because they're living in that dream, which we call the illusion. And in fact, there is no separation. There is no duality in this world. We all share common red blood, and we all share the thing that we fall asleep and have dreams and wake back up. Just like
you drink and be merry too, right?
Right. That makes us global citizens with no individual nation defining who we are. We're just as much as equal, unlimited dreaming beings.
Right.
And this awake life that is in a perception of separation, we are trying to find the a la carte way between the two sides so that we can be a lucid dreaming I am dreaming being now.
Correct, but that's being able to be responsible for our intent and actions. And
absolutely,
people just don't have that notion either, how to be able to respond and take their power to know this is your manifestation.
And because what you create on and what you focus on by the law of creation and focus is what will be in your manifested reality.
There you go. See? Knuckle punch.
The mantle of self-responsibility is equal to your level of awareness. So if your level of awareness says that there's a seen and unseen world, then one has a responsibility to basic spiritual hygiene from the unseen world. That can come from meditation, which is equivalent to brushing your teeth, saging your house, which is equivalent to taking a spiritual shower, so on and so forth, until whatever ritual process or ceremony you do has your fullness of belief behind it.
Well, and giving it power to do its own stuff, too.
Co-creating with the power.
Right.
Okay? Because we don't we don't want to be stuck in a scenario where we might be in a codependent relationship with spirit. We want to be in an independent relationship that has the fullness of our free will, and when spirit and our will are perfectly aligned, that's destiny.
Well, to me, that would be the oversoul, and bringing the truest being of self in earth as in heaven. And it is us who creates heaven or hell. It doesn't come from anywhere else but our own consciousness.
Beautifully put. And the consciousness itself has two factors to it. It has awareness, which is raw intellect, and then it has presence, which is raw intellect with the fullness of spirit making choices.
Character.
Mm-hmm. The potency of that presence determines faith or belief.
Or fear. For whatever reactions or outcomes those who don't know assume that they're witnessing.
Yep. Faith, it can be a fear can be the polar opposite of faith. Faith is leaping into the unknown having trust with universal spirit working through you.
That's it. Totally divine right order, in my opinion.
Because we've had previous experiences that have said that the unseen world is just as rich as my seen world. And if I want to have friendships or companionships and knowingness from that side, I must invest with the authentic self connected.
True that. Mm-hmm. Very much so. And all these past lessons and learns and teachers who have come through my life to try to abate, to let me know, are all implementations of some kind of message, but they're always fleeting. We cannot hold on to somebody else as a crutch, because even we're not here to do that. And we're not here to own our children. We're not here to define what anybody's life is except your own.
Well, when it comes to children, you do have a certain level of early codependency where the child is very much codependency.
Oh, but that's just unconditional love. That's just fluffing up the soil, baby.
Well, it's still
early years are important too.
A lesson many people don't get, because whatever scenario was wrong with the parents when they were growing up, they were not able to be the fullness authentically present there.
Oh yeah, I forgave my parents a long time ago, for they only knew what they were taught to know. Exactly. And I could not assume that my life was supposed to be in a different way.
And without those lessons that they taught you, you would not be the Mona of today.
That's right.
Okay? That is owning our past, saying that what was before my I am's full awareness to choice when I was still young was what was the soup that created me. And if I want to be a minestrone soup, or I want to be a chicken noodle soup, all of the stuff that made me, or what that definition is, there.
All I could think of is all the love that I could share with my children to become social beings.
Mm-hmm.
And I have at least 2 of them that have achieved that to a degree. Of course, they were both girls. My sons didn't. Anyway, but yeah, because I'd had that responsibility to give them the best that I could give them, no matter the torture and past of hell that I received.
Mm-hmm. And what you did pass on to them at that moment of your growth was the essence of your wisdom, and how that essence would be passed on as a legacy from yourself to their selves, who would pick up the legacy of having to live on their own being, day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. The legacy of the self. Every day we wake up, we choose to mantle of the self. Am I responsible to myself? Am I going to take care of myself today? Am I going to go out and do something fun? Am I going to learn? Am I going to go to my slave job? Whatever it is the choice and the legacy you pick up each day to leave to yourself the next day, the next week, the next year.
Right. No doubt. Seriously, no doubt. And that's really what I would like everybody to know. Because if they are taught to believe in an external thing and have hope that something's going to come and save them, always remember there's a price to everything you ask for. And when you do make that choice and are asking for something, there's no need to not enjoy or like it or to go, oh gosh, what did I do now?
There is where shame, blame, and guilt have such power over people, because they were taught shame, blame, and guilt as a standard operating procedure by their mother, father, brother, sister, cousins, uncles, or neighbors.
My daughter's was the aunt, my youngest. It's actually a great story about walking a path and a road to learn more of what life's here to find in its treasures, not just its semi-setbacks. And when I learned to surrender, to just let life happen, the true love is there. But if I had to think that I had to make maneuver and have expectations, it would drive me lunacy. And of course, I'm already labeled lunacy, but that's okay.
Okay. So let's talk about creating a reality. And the first thing that comes to my mind from creating a reality is something that is a commonality amongst all people, and it comes in many forms, and that's the process of prayer. What does prayer mean to Mona, and at her level of knowingness now as a presenter?
It's each step that I take in goodwill to be at peace. That is my prayer. for everything. Everything I see is precious, not just to the way I see it, but precious to this earth. And basically, that's my living prayer. Plus, it's also my living meditation where I get a lot of answers because I don't have to always ask any questions or try to direct where I think I need to go. Because to me, prayer, I'm Native American, so I spend a lot of time with the sage, etc., ceremonies. But it's just, that's where I've come from, is the idea that why not cherish and honor and be that the prayer? Respecting life, having morals, no harm to anything.
Beautifully put. And for me, prayer is a process of finding strength, wisdom, and knowingness from the internal, eternal being you know you are. We all know that we're more than we've heard, read, or studied. Prayer is another example of this. We learn ourselves at the fullest layers. Prayer is the way we make higher frequency friendships with the universal source working through all of us. Prayer doesn't need a religion or an esoteric system. Prayer can be no words or thousands of words. Prayer is a form of gratitude and love expressed through the divine co-creative self. Manifesting this journey, we go from the unknown to the known.
I know, isn't that fun?
Yeah. And when we get to use that process of prayer, we get to go to what is faith? Faith is our direct link to the universal wisdom. Faith reminds us that we know more than we've heard, read, or studied. Faith reminds us we only have to look and listen and trust the love and wisdom of the universal spirit working through all of us. Faith does not require a belief in a religion. Only by learning to trust love and intelligence working through you and all creation. This newfound trust will transform your perception and experience. You'll find lessons and opportunities in every challenge. No matter what we feel or know, no matter what our potential gifts or talents are, only action brings them to life.
That's right.
Many of us know a concept such as commitment, courage, and love, but we truly know only what we can do in that moment.
Or what's been prescribed that the way we're supposed to react. Go ahead.
Right. Doing leads to understanding. Then ultimately action turns knowledge into wisdom. And that's the process of prayer, no matter if it's 0 words or an infinite amount of words.
Well, I choose to comprehend and not understand because I will not stand under something else. Mm-hmm. I am solid here within I am.
And in that solid I amness is where you get your sovereign full power to use free will. And you enjoy that from the seat of your internal heart.
Ka-ching. There was something else I was going to say, but I didn't realize you were reading off of something to say it, but it's a good idea. You have a page, and you have other things coming up, which is really exciting. And we're going to be going to break in at least 4 minutes. So just so they know who you are and where they can get a hold of you, then put that out on the airways for a minute, won't you?
Hi, I'm Andrew Bartzis. You can go to my website, andrewbartzis.com. That's Bartzis. You can find me on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, which has all of my information, leads you back to everything that is me.
Thanks. I muted while I was typing.
It's okay.
I know. And while you were reading that, all I could think of was copper. Oh, look at this copper and look at the shungite with it. Oh, my gosh. Because to me, that's it. Mm-hmm. And I know that the resources that I need will always be provided if I'm supposed to happen. So I would have more faith and trust. But I did an article one day, which was really cool, that our body is actually in need of faith because it's a major physical ingredient to keep us going. And there's also another word, and I don't remember what the other word was.
It's part of our bioelectric frequency. It's
right.
What reinitiates the spark of creation, inspiration, and dreams to be free in the sovereign self and not to be a slave in a system that defines who you are.
Or harms you. And boy, aren't we getting all that? Oh.
That's right. So I included a sample prayer. And this one goes along in a very Native American process. And after the break, I'll read it out. Unless you want to read it out.
Well, it's 3 minutes. How long is it? Is that the one you...
4 minutes to read. It's only a page and a quarter. It's only like 500 words.
Well, then speed read. Go ahead.
1 second.
Oh, yeah.
I, in this ever-present, co-creative moment of the now, connect my signature frequency of being with all aspects of myself in non-hierarchical order, so I may deconstruct the reality around me and create it once more without the global infrastructure of distraction and instant gratification guiding me into false sacred moments. O great spirit who gives life to all that is, was, and ever will be, I call to you in this sacred moment of infinite interconnectedness. Life is a series of interconnected moment-to-moment experiences, blending with the I Am's awareness of time, space, emotions creating motions experienced through the red road of time. I call to the eastern doorway of perception, the ancestors who sit within the galactic and universal suns. Come with your clarity and illumination of the eighth color of time. I activate my cranial sacral pulse with the highest frequencies of sun energy, so I may know the heartbeat of Earth Mother feels in the womb of the universe. I am a fetus in the universal womb, dreaming this dream in perfect clarity. I call to the southern doorways of perception, the ancestors who teach us how to keep our internal waters in balance, to learn to connect back to our sacred waters that surrounds us as a fetus in our mother's womb. And our density manifest, our pericardium is our eternal waters of life. I, in this ever-present connected I am self moment, clear my sacred waters through all timelines, dimensions, time streams, galaxies, and universes. I call to the western doorway of dreamtime perception. I call to the 7 future generations of myself, my clan, my nation, and my Mother Earth. Come hold sacred space with my self-reflection of who I am, what I am, and how I dream this dream. Me dreaming you and you dreaming me. And the Earth Mother dreaming all of us, in communion and union with Source incarnate dreaming now. I call to the northern doorway of ancestral Blue Road relations, those that have taught us and continue to teach us what equal co-creation through from heart space means in living every moment to moment with sentient kind, sharing the common moral code of do no harm to any creature kind. Expanding my awareness of the northern doorway, I go deep into the Blue Road ancestral councils. I manifest my I am dreaming self in communion and union with the Blue Road Council of Elder Ancestors. I pass the Blue Road communal talking stick to the Chief Elder of the North. Aho, Red Road walkers, I say these words unto you. The generations of the past reach out to you in the unseen world no longer. We share your sovereign reality of do no harm to any sentient kind. We share our story with you. We share our teachings with you so the future may exist. You are our living hope of continued service.
We'll be right back.
I tell you to move out.
Yeah, that's right. Tuesdays from 10 to midnight Eastern Time. Join Douglas Dietrich as he exposes the truth in hidden history on his show Critical Omissions. And then our human weapon of mass destruction is back once again to take your calls on Saturday Night Firing Lines. Both from 10 to 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Only on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
Transcending time and space, let us take you to the place inside your mind where thoughts divide and mysteries unwind. Join us every Monday evening right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you will catch the Fenton Perspective with our great host, Lorian Fenton. Come listen in as she shares her amazing stories from the past to present, along with all of her guest secrets to the future. That's the Fenton Perspective every Monday evening right here from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Revolution Radio. Oh, and you don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Hi everybody, it's me, The Fetch, host of Inside the Eye Live. Before the Sunday mainstream media political pundit talk shows, there is Inside the Eye Live, where we break down some of the weekly mainstream media talking points before the talking points even get aired. Add in some entertaining stories, weather, cats, intriguing and informative guests, and you get one of the most listened to Saturday morning streaming media political talk shows going today. And it's all right here on our flagship station, Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. So join me, The Fetch, for Inside the Eye Live every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern. It is truly intelligent media for the politically aware.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
We is back here at Adventures of a Feral Hippie, 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 with Andrew Bartzis.
How you doing?
Honey. How am I doing? I never question that, because you know what? I just give thanks that I keep doing. I mean, there are times I did a video of all the shungite rocks I got, and I mean, these are like semi-boulders, and basically, I'm making a video for the person who sent them so they could see what they look like. And I'm huffing and puffing walking through the house now. And it's like, gosh, Mona, there's so many reasons and conditions or, explanations for why this occurs. But just the environmental stress is enough to knock us off balance. So when we're in prayer and meditation, we could basically handle and get through, because I never try to hold on to any emotion, okay?
Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes you have to explore emotion, especially when you have a loved one that may be in a challenge scenario. We do have to push the envelopes of our own perceptions of love. And that is why prayers such as the one that I just read push that envelope to make a moment sacred enough that the fullness of your soul comes in and empowers that belief.
Now, some people would decipher that belief as you spell it out as be-lie, F, is that it?
Be-lie, yeah. So we do live in a 26-letter encoded alphabet that is upside down and inside out and meant to confuse.
Right.
That is the spelling of spells.
Uh-huh.
And one is in the spelling of spells. They are not in what's called the colloquial now, which does not believe in the spelling of spells.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
What is the colloquial now? It's when the soup of all languages come together and whole new words are created.
Well, as long as you have those who can get the drift of what the concept is behind that word, then that's cool.
And that is simply the in 26-letter encoded alphabet that has emotions, just like a picture can have thousands of words to it. Mm-hmm. We can create connected word phrases that challenge the individual believer to do. Is it bringing charge, trigger, and polarity to me? Or is it information presented in a what I'll call signature frequency moment of the now, meaning it's right for you in that moment. It fits your beliefs. It adds, modifies, and amplifies what's already there.
Well, I see that we have to give the energies to fortify the foundation and to set ourselves free, because that's also beliefs, not holding on to things that are expected from outside ourselves.
So that's why I use what's called the out loud name it to claim it system. That is the power of the voice. The voice is in between the heart and the mind. The voice was created at the same time that the spirit was created. That's this I am's ever evolving residual image of who we are, and what we will be. That's how we know ourselves from different versions of ourselves. Old habit
upon
patterns.
recognition, though, too. I mean, how do people learn to recognize their behavior?
By self-awareness, by choosing to be the internal observer as what we call programs play out. Programs such as getting angry and snapping at someone, or holding it all in until a moment where you go into depression, or someone else who wears all their emotions on their sleeve but never actually processes why they're emotions.
Right.
Those are moments that we can observe ourselves. What am I doing? Hey, slow down. I want the reins of myself back.
Oh, yeah. I've physically been through that.
Yeah, and we see it in
Recently.
others all the time, too.
Pardon?
We see it in others all the time, too.
I can see the workings and conditions of what's created it, and there's nothing I can do about it except to be myself. So, yes, I've had to release my moments and drag them back in.
Or learn how to let go of old shells that have kept you trapped into a limited point of view.
That's the thought.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because there really is no limits.
No, we are here to make known the unknown. Ultimately, that's the unlimited point of view, where we can have all points of view equally within ourselves or not equally within ourselves to allow us the fullness of expression of our free will. There are more choices than just light and dark. There are third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh options we've yet to explore.
Okay, well, explain what you're talking about. What's an option?
A fundamental imprint here is there's a light and a dark, and they cannot exist without each other.
Right.
In between light and dark is a neutral position, or what I call the sacred neutral position. That's a third option, that one that does not have to accept light as the light dictatorship or the dark as the dark dictatorship, or the combination of them that has created this soup of miscreation we live in.
All I could think of is the yin-yang symbol, and that for some reason something has kept the circles that are in the middle of the teardrops circling each other. And why are those in the separation?
Because millions of years ago, foreign dimensional beings came here in a full level of awareness with direct manifest beings and created DNA surgery that created an adrenal gland that was hooked to the medulla oblongata that separated our left brain and our right brain, that gave us the option to choose fight, flight, or fright before love.
Aww.
That is the fundamental thing that was changed within us. And we can use meditation and self-awareness training to begin to disconnect the adrenal glands of fight, flight, fright, or fight, flight, or freeze before love. We can make love our first option, unconditional love.
All I can think of is a situation that just totally blew that out of my field, where I had to learn, because I've become such a love that I could be a very passive individual. But I also didn't want to infringe into the moment because it would only perpetuate. And basically to the idea of, oh my gosh.
We do live in a world of charge and polarity. And the sacred neutral process acknowledges that there is a light and a dark polarity, not with emotions or concepts behind them. They're polar oppositions of each other.
Right.
And you can go all the way into the light and flip to be dark, and you go all the way to the dark and flip to be the light. And this has been proven over and over again through our history.
I've always thought you should know both sides.
Correct. Until such a time where we no longer need to use those as our fundamental options of life process.
Yeah. Whoa. Time for a margarita. Oh my gosh.
So many people find themselves drinking, smoking the hopium, drinking the margaritas, and find themselves zealots who believe it's their way is the only way, or I'm going to kill you.
Well, you know what? I'm here through my spirit's awareness, and no matter what the 3D thinks it could do to change me, good luck. Because it ain't happening.
Right. All it's going to do is determine if the volume of energy you're processing is what they want you to process, until such a time you don't accept their fuel at their price rate.
Yeah, right. Touche. Oh, gosh. Well, I have to consider myself more valid, or having at least the value to be able to drop the end of the rope and make arrangements. You know, if it's liked or not, cause and effect, I get that, but I'm not the one who really attacked myself. Trust me, I love myself too much. That's why I like the idea of knowing how words have value, of power behind them, and that we are in self-creation. But we have to also know that divine right order, in my mind, is what will give us what we've been asking for. You know, like the
divine right
replicator.
order won't give us what we're asking for. It'll give us awareness so that we can ask new questions.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think that's just part of the consciousness, subconscious, superconscious, super duper conscious. Because we've got so many levels of consciousness, you know,
Yes.
right?
It's the level you choose to work on, equal to your level of awareness. That's responsibility. When one goes beyond their level of responsibility and gets access to information that they don't know how to do, process, that information can be easily weaponized within themselves or this reality.
Yeah, whoa. Ooh, I feel honored.
Huh? When we choose to push our envelope of belief, trust, faith, all those other things, and then push ourselves into the realm of other dimensional consciousnesses where we have no frame of reference of how they think of life in any way, shape, or form.
Right, so you're like that infant.
Yes. Until you use your awareness combined with the potent presence being who's saying, I am a sovereign individual being who can listen to information and not take on the charge and polarity of it. That is that sacred neutral position, a witness who does not make a judgment about it. They are beings of remedy and resolve.
Right.
There's no justice or judgment within remedy and resolve.
I agree.
Remedy and resolve does not function solely in linear time.
I know.
It's how our awareness to not to act or react to some ongoing energy field that creates resolution simply by not acting, by not blurting out and adding more charge to the scenario.
Right. Well, I'm working on that.
Hey, we all are working on that. Again, we're all stopping at the gas station of life and taking on the fuel at a price rate that's determined by something other than us until we get to say, I want to stop at the gas station of the self where it's free and fun.
And unconditional love. Yeah.
For the self.
Well, for everything. If we can't respect the conditions that are there, then hey, first and foremost ourselves, but still, come on.
That's why I say here's an equation that many people can strive for. 51% yourself and 49% everyone else.
Not everyone. I think things. People have to prove themselves these days.
There, but for the simplicity of the equation, so many people in this presenter world that we are in are 80 to 90% everyone else. And it begins to show after the years and years and years of doing what they're doing.
It's just being codependent on a bigger illusion or a lie.
Because they don't use self-reflection. They don't engage sacred hindsight, which is, all right, I want to look at my life.
Right.
We've all done it at some point.
Why is my life here? Right. Not just why am I in it, but why is it here?
And then we get to engage a genius moment where I said, if I can have fullness of hindsight, what stops me from having fullness of foresight?
Oh, but the thing is why change anything? It was all part of the purpose of the choices made.
Based off of your level of awareness at the moment that you made choices. But there are always moments where we can literally change the entire universal plan. Because we aren't operating on one plan and one linear timeline. We have an infinite amount of plans because we have a soul that's infinite. Right. Where all of our past, present, and future selves simultaneously existing. This I am is just one of the great many webs of selves that are interacting through these moments.
All I could think of is dance, baby, dance.
That's right. We are in never-ending change, and at times we take vacations. But when we pick up the journey where we left off, we didn't lose anything. We gained a whole new point of view.
Right. And it could be just by not being also.
Right. Inaction sometimes is some of the greatest action in this world of charge and polarity right now.
Well, I incorporate so much of what I have gotten in information on this third dimensional realm, like Robert Monroe and Carlos Castaneda, Madame Blavatsky, because I always thought you had to witness both sides to see the variance. And what it came down to me to think is we have the inner knowledge, but you have to also not look for it. Most of my ingestion of the reality of the etheric had to come to me on its own. I did not look for it, but I did look to break myself free of what the illusion was that I was programmed at. And
Very
that was
similar,
just
very similar to my process. Spirit came to me over and over and over and over.
Oh, no,
over.
I had to have a nervous breakdown through. It was a breakthrough, but it was still a breakdown. I mean, things had to be destroyed.
For me, it was making a choice of being public with the skill sets that I had, from not choosing to want to live a normal person's life. I was very challenged growing up.
That's a normal person.
I don't know, a job, a girlfriend, getting married, white picket fence, whatever you want to call that, pre-perception.
Okay.
Pre-perception is not precognition. So many people are caught in, they think their pre-perceptions are precognition. They're not. When I got out of my pre-perception of who I was supposed to be, based off of what my mother and father and both brothers and grandma and grandfather and uncles taught me.
Exactly.
Yeah. Once I got out of pre-perception and I allowed myself to be the natural precognitive being that I am, is where I faced the greater choice, which is, well, I want to operate on many scales of awareness. And to do that, I have to have a life path that is eternal for this person's choice, that uses the word sacred as a separation of what is recreational to me to what is part of that life path that I believe so much in, that precognition is the way of my being and not pre-perception.
Never assume.
Never. Okay? When we get out of expectation, we get to be an unlimited being.
And I just couldn't live by other people's ideals. People want me to turn the copper in for money, but I'd rather do the art for the exchange of the capital.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't see that. And it's like, oh my gosh.
Because you see the power in the art.
Well, yeah. Well, it's created itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been an interesting thing. And I can only be me. But it really was a tough time coming into that awareness when I was like in my early 20s, like 24.
You can be the multidimensional you.
I didn't have a choice. I'm standing outside potting up cactus, 1,000 at a time, just doing the same thing over and over again. And all of a sudden, my third eye opens up, and all these mandalas started showing up.
That's because the medicine of the cactus plant, which is a powerful ancestral being, came to you and chose to pass on its wisdom to you.
Well, but the situation was, as soon as I wanted to get a pen and write them down, because I could do that if I could, it stopped.
Yes, because it was only meant for that moment.
Well, but, you know, I've had other moments like that, but that was just like one of the first things, Monas. Right. Don't focus. You know, because it came to me from an unfocus.
Oh, no. Thousands of plants potted is focus on a longer term.
Well, that was my business. Well, yeah, at that time. Mm-hmm.
And you got a certain number of done where you're focused naturally transmitted into the unseen world. Because you were doing service by potting those plants and all the places that they went and changed the energy.
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
I never saw it of the cactus and succulent business as that, but people loved it. I made good money, man.
Cactuses are just like crystals. They're their own little specialized community of transmuters.
Oh, they must have loved their flower pots, because I used to make my own pottery, too, because I was too cheap to keep, even though I did buy others' pottery. And I do remember making a big terracotta, beautiful dragon head, too. I'll have to see if I can find those pictures. I mean, I've always been trying to be self-supportive to the idea of making others happy and welcome. I had somebody come back 3 years later, say, Mona, you know the plant that you had in front of your herb store? Well, and they're not supposed to live that long. The sweet basil, she says, I go back twice a year and I harvest enough to make pesto, and you need a lot of basil. Pesto. So just by the love of that basil being in the place or strip mall I was in, it carried some power with it. And I'm telling you, some of those stories I could tell you about that herb store, oh my flipping gosh.
And that's
not the conversation.
Living your mystical life.
It was being thrown at me. I'm telling you. I had no choice but to experience the realities of the different structures of people's belief systems, what they pay into and don't realize.
And then how the plants themselves, who are their own beings,
are
fully a part of that experience. You were co-creators of the divine mystical process.
Maybe.
No, you were.
One of my favorite days is when I used to have this guy. I have no idea where he come from, but I'm sure he was one of the watchers here to help me. And he brought me a picture of the first fractal. And it was in full color. I'm talking the early 90s. And it was just like, this is amazing. This is so cool. So I've always had answers given to me and not always knowing what the question was. But just because it was gorgeous art and life, and I mean, this is cool. You know, I didn't recognize until now. What's that, 20-some years ago? I mean, jeez.
Yeah, but so many of the native artworks that use different kinds of plant medicines have the fractal definitions in their artwork and their clothing and their styles.
Interesting. I never saw it like that, and I've studied with Lakota and Navajo. Pardon?
Yeah.
And I'm Iroquois, so you know.
All of them that use plant medicine.
Well, I agree with and believe that and know what you're saying, but I never got that far with it. I've done many sweats and things like that, but we never did plant medicine during our ceremonies.
In the sweats, you will have the same fractal process appear in the steam or in the grandfathers that are there or in the words being said. It's a matter of our attunement to the energy changes inside that process.
It's so funny. I was doing one with the sacred girl, two girls, and one was the fire keeper. I always tended to the keeping water in us, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so she's sitting there watching, and her third eye must have opened up because she saw my etheric self. Thought I was sitting there smoking a cigarette during the prayer time. And this was her first sweat ever, okay? And she just saw all this ethericness about me, and it scared the living heck out of her. She was never my friend again.
Because she was not ready for first contact. Probably had some severe things within inside her that created that reaction.
Oh, yeah, there was a lot of that. Yeah, no doubt. Oh, but gosh, I miss a sweat, but I'm not able to in this condition of where I'm at today, which is very sad. But that's okay. I know what it goes for. We'll be right back. Thanks, Andrew. This is fun. Yep. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. express them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
That's right. Come and get it. Get to the homepage. Do the donate click. You know you love us. Come on, get the archives too while you're there. And see what the seed packs and the other things are. Because you know where you're at. FreedomSlips.com, Revolution Radio, and Haggy Shack. She's got some great things going on her page too. I haven't gone to look, actually. I really probably should. But I love the girls. Yes. We're all in new awarenesses together, and when we can assume that we don't know it all, it sure gets a lot more fun, doesn't it?
Well, the nature of fun is when we are truly engaging the joy, letting go of our adulthood, fullness of spirit flow. That's the mechanics of heart and joy. And then how does it retain in our memory?
I know, right?
Because there are times we have great joy, but we have hardly memory of it.
I don't know. I think if somebody brought up a word that triggered it, I would have a memory of it. But I always remember the little miracles, the little miraculous things that made me become more aware. So maybe that is living through the spirit. I don't know. But because I don't dream at night, I dream during the day. I get everything while I'm up, and I want my body to be healed as I sleep. If I need to know something, something will come to me.
Because you made a choice to be awake in the dream.
But those times have already answered the questions of what it meant, because everybody's dream reasons are different. And you can't just follow one straight line. No. Because all the different perspectives of the realities that we've induced as fact isn't always as anybody else might consider it.
Right. Sometimes they are houses of cards that when we look at our belief structure, we realize we created the majority of that structure around that single concept.
If you have eyes to see and ears to hear, and
if you have eyes to see and ears to hear, you will fill in the blanks when you are in the unknown territory. And we are always filling in blanks in all sorts of scenarios.
I know, right?
Right.
It's the only way it gets processed, ain't it?
Right.
Oh, God.
That's pre-perception versus true precognition.
Oh, well, now give me an explanation of what your precognition is.
Deja vu.
Huh. Because I've had some so instantly I couldn't change events.
Yeah.
Because they were a physical situation.
Yeah, that's in the moment precognition, living, breathing it as it's occurring.
Right. And
seeing the entire potentiality of what was changed to what is.
Right. Oh, I have to. I have, when the awareness was becoming of the conditions that could be warranted around me through the etheric side, okay? My son, now I don't know why, but then I figured it out later, but he was outside. He didn't have a rough childhood. He wasn't treated like I was treated. And so, but one day I find him out back and he's trying to hang himself off this big old oak tree. Now, I'm trying not to freak, okay, because I'm just working through things. And I'm like, okay, I'll be right back. I have to get a knife. I wasn't yelling at the kid or anything because I knew what possibly could be occurring. And so I get up in the tree. Now, the funny part is he couldn't have jumped off the shed to hang himself because he was using one of the biggest, heaviest plumber pipes, monkey wrenches that you could use. And I'm like thinking, what the F? But I couldn't let it go on. I had to take control and cut the rope. So as I cut the rope, I'm standing under the monkey wrench and my inner soul said, move. So I just tilted forward and it missed me by centimeters. And I'm like, we got to learn to listen to that inner voice, even if it's not ours. but you also have to have the discernment to know why you did that.
Because you didn't want to get hit in the face with a wrench while you're trying to stop your son from hanging himself.
The top of the head, right.
Right.
But then come to find out the house was like convalescent home and a child died there. Mm-hmm. And that's where a lot of...
That's an imprint from the environment, external you and your own creation began to influence your environment and creation.
Oh, honey, some of these stories, not even... Oh, gosh, no wonder...
And what I do, I run across them all the time. All the time. They are every much a part of our living everyday life as they are a part of our dreaming life.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and
yeah.
some of them are zealots and martyrs and don't care about us. They care about their point of view. Our whole government is infested by them, and we all know it.
Well, that's a whole different subject there, buddy.
How do we separate ourselves from the dirty energy underwear that the system is forcing us to share?
By not giving a dang that they're there. I do talk about it, though. I do try to have people see the compensation of not following somebody else's program and illusion. I won't even post anything about Trump and all the rest of that other stuff unless it has something to do like the a-holes spraying the farm, right. Or, because they aren't happy with a certain weed, oh, jeez.
So for me, I use the out loud name it to claim it system. So whenever something is loud and broadcasting through the internet, the radio, so on and so forth, it is affecting us etherically. Mm-hmm. Like the Trump stuff, it is affecting everyone simultaneously right now and all the other propaganda out there. So if we define what the propaganda strategy is against us by using an out loud name it to claim it system, whatever the words in the moment come out, we are taking our power back from it. So it has no power to broadcast to us as an individual perceiver, witnesser.
I just say no thanks.
I use more verbose process because it's part of the greater healing of the belief system.
What's that?
That we allow the system to run our lives.
No. What was the word that you use? You said you had a certain other way and word that you use. So tell me what that is.
Which part were you talking about? Because it's an out loud name it to claim it system.
So it would be upon each structure of item.
So yes, you would name out the entire propaganda protection-based system. All aspects of it. All talking heads, all media personalities that are sending charge and polarity to break it down into its individual broadcast structures.
Yeah, I even have done that with the scientists who supposedly are telling us the truth, like NASA and the rest of
the all the reality belief engines that are based within science or religion that do not give all full rights, duties, and responsibilities to each and every individual being.
That's right. What do you... there's a word for that. Oh, my gosh. I think it starts with an R. Oh, gosh. My brain just went clear.
It'll come back. That's one of those source redaction moments.
Thank you for clarifying that for me.
I have them too.
Oh. Well, I just don't like even considering it. But if it does affect us to the point people need to know, I want to know. And that's why I do what I do. Because I want to not feel their pain, for one thing, because I'm very empathetic. And so could you imagine feeling what the earth is feeling now? It really is not easy. But as long as I can get through it and send her the energies in reverse, then things will be as copacetic as they can be done at this time. You know what I mean?
So I have a little bit different point of view.
Go ahead.
I don't believe that the earth is in pain at all. I believe that the earth has been in contractual agreements with billions of beings to come together as a greater being or a macro being to hold space for all of us to go through what we needed to go through, no matter how harsh it was, which is the separation from source. To having to use your sovereign free will at every moment in this world compared to any other worlds, which is what made this world radically different. More DNA structures from around the galaxy and universes were combined into one little place than had ever been done before. And this planet is fully capable of handling us through its share of process.
Well, I'd like to believe that.
All you got to do is change your point of view then.
Well, and I do, and I try, and I have.
Okay. This whole process of Mother Earth being in pain and all that, it really came into what's called the colloquial now around 1830. So it's really only 170 years old. Very few modern process religions gave any concept that the planet was alive at all. It is what came from the original teachings that finally
but I've known it forever, Andrew. No. I know the situation of why I can feel the pain. It's because of the ignorance of its caregivers who are just stealing.
They're not caregivers, they're caretakers that are using the caretaking process to their own advantage in a competitional hierarchical order.
Yeah.
And until we can become the apex of our own hierarchical order and deconstruct all our hierarchical systems around us so that they have no power.
Right.
That is Earth's gift to us. For once we deconstruct our own hierarchical order, to become that apex right here, right now, Earth is giving us unlimited knowledge and wisdom to do something in this moment, to change this world with full knowledge and responsibility that we can't step on the journeys of others. They must make the choice upon their own.
Just to respect what gives and provides life for you. Shouldn't that be enough?
It should, but we live in a world of charge and polarity where you have millions of zealots who have the louder voice that the mob believes. The mob mentality believes because they're not in their power. Because of worth and money. Shame, blame, and guilt just as much.
That too, yeah, right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I have to laugh because I just went through that earlier with my youngest. I forgave you. And I'm like, forgave me for what? Wait a minute. Why were you even considering that you had to forgive me? Wait, oh. It's like, jeez. Why can't we just let things be what they're supposed to be?
Because people don't have coping skills. So that when they allow it to be and go through the soup of the self, to be digested by the self, understood, until finally it's let go.
There you go.
Some people just don't. They just dog with a bone and won't let it go. You may bury it, but keep digging it up all the time.
Dog with a bone. I love that. That's like picking a scab. What the heck sense does that make?
Right.
I mean, honestly. Oh, that's ridiculous. But I see what you're saying, and yeah, okay. And I'm the hippie, man. I want the earth happy. And I know that I can feel energies with the earth. And
you can. And you can feel so much more, though.
What do you mean?
The earth, just like us, has itself and its higher self.
Mm-hmm.
Just at operating at a whole different scale. That's what I call the celestial process. And we all have a legacy inside us that allows us to be the celestial mediums.
Oh.
To work with the higher self of this planet and try to translate into our own language of the now what that greater process is trying to do and help us.
And become.
Manifest our will.
Mm-hmm.
To become global citizens, galactic citizens.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want us flying out there.
Okay.
Not the way that we behave. Oh my God. Huh?
Yeah, universal citizens. Okay. There are those in this dimensional world that can operate on 4 or 5 scales at a time. They're a global dreamtime being, they're a galactic dreamtime being, and a universal dreamtime being, meaning they operate at the different scales. There's the planet as the celestial mind, the star systems are the galactic mind, and the universe, that's that universal mind, that original source spark. that created the rule that we are all of our past, present, and future selves simultaneously existence. Linear time was created solely for humanity in this perception of time change.
So then what did you think of the solstice? Because that's all what, of course, a lot of people don't think about it, but do you think that there's a remnants of power of...
Absolutely.
Cool.
It is the longest day of the year, the most amount of light coming in. It is light that creates photosynthesis in the 99% of all the green things in this world. We are every much a part of that photosynthesis process. One of the teachings I talk about is called spiritual photosynthesis, which is getting yourself into the fullness of the sunlight and doing sun gazing instead of with eyes open, eyes closed, at around noontime, 1, wherever you're in full sun, with the eyes directly facing the sun, but the lids closed until such a moment where the sun illuminates both eyes and then refracts and opens the third eye. And then you allow that sunlight to go all the way down your back of your brain, into your spinal column, all the way down to your tailbone, and to illuminate your tailbone into a sunlight energy. That's spiritual photosynthesis, direct to our synaptic core, and allowing ourselves the trust in ourselves to create the guided imagery that is the pulsation from the sun to penetrate the cellular structures that allow our actual thoughts to create body and motion.
Neat.
Okay? That is us as a spiritual tree in that moment.
Gotcha.
So the solstice is where we honor what was my last 6 months lesson. What is my hindsight say about my growth? And then the other part of the solstice, once we've acknowledged our trials, tribulations, and created a victory ceremony, a counting coup, we've accepted the greatness of our being. Now we look to foresight in such a focused way that we are looking for that time where there's the least amount of light in the world. The next process, December 21st. This is that cyclical process of using awareness, where you are disconnected from the global infrastructure of distraction, cell phones, computer, email, bills, so on and so forth, where you've taken several hours out of your day to prepare, do, process, heal, eat, sleep, and finally, when you're ready, you do your next process, which is foresight. For me, I do 2 ceremonies, one to represent the hindsight and one to represent the foresight. There is where in the foresight process will allow the fullness of my mystical self, full creation, no limitation. I'm looking for my own unlimited point of view. And in my journey for the unlimited point of view, I will see my finite perceptions and begin to deconstruct them. Are they hierarchical or non-hierarchical? Are they duality? Are they non-duality? Are they equal co-creation or dependent co-creation? There is why I see potentiality. And I focused myself during that ceremony to be the next person who will be sitting in a cyclical process of awareness, unawareness, hindsight, and foresight, stretched back 30 years of doing ceremonies.
Right. Because we don't always have a cause and effect, just like you said earlier.
That's right.
Not one immediately, anyway.
Right. So the solstice, the equinoxes, they all mean something, but what is your purpose of it? In many of the different original people concepts out there, it was representation of spring and fall. You know, that was hunting, whether they were hunter-gatherers or agrarian. The food was gathered to the center places. They had their ceremonies that brought clans together so that they could stop arguments.
Right. Makes sense to
Share
me.
teachings. Be a community in unity.
Just a gossip. Oh, no, I'm teasing.
Yeah. Well, sometimes gossip feels too.
Well, true, especially if it's facts about a future event.
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
Right.
It is rather amazing, the different channels of societal boundaries or unlimitless, because if we put that to some people, it would get actually dangerous.
That's right.
So we really have to consider I still am going to consider it. There's two different ways to take it. So we can't really reduce duality and remove it because it's separated from the other spark of the one.
Accept it for what it is, equally layered over the other.
Well, don't make choices. It's so much easier. But know each opportunity and each reality if you can.
Well, the thing is, our higher self is what I call the non-agenda self. The one that's not using linear time to judge, gauge, or understand the greater changes going on.
Whoa, okay.
The morning fart or the afternoon dinner doesn't really make a big difference to the oversoul who's looking over a span of hundreds of creations.
Exactly.
Okay?
Okay, I get that, yeah.
As I am beings, are agenda-driven. We have spiritual contracts we're here to accomplish, and the fuse of life force is lit. What am I getting done?
Well, sometimes just being there is getting something done.
Correct. But in that process, people get mired in the journey, mired into mediocrity. And when they're stuck in mediocrity, they can't co-create with their own self. So many listeners, since the dawn of YouTube being a teacher the way that it is now,
right,
have become drive-by listeners. They drive in, they hit the player, they listen to a show, they drive out, and it doesn't do anything to them. Because their view, just by listening, I'm putting my energy into global change, instead of taking the essence of the message of the show and applying it to themselves.
Well, it could happen both ways, but I agree with what you're saying. That's rather interesting.
90% of the audience is a drive-by audience now. 10% really get it.
No wonder the donations aren't better. But it is summer and things do happen. But please, people, we need those donations if you'd like to keep driving by or whatever. Oh,
just like a drive-through, you put a couple bucks in.
Oh, it's so interesting.
Have your psychic burger and fries here.
That's right. But that is rather interesting.
Exactly. They're all natural.
I mean, I'm trying to put a sign, an astrological sign with that, and that'd be like Pisces. But maybe not, because they're great inventors and artists and creators. They're all part of that end process, because it's amazing the different harmonics and somatics that literally are out there for us. But like, I couldn't accept that I knew astrology way back in the day when I was a child, because I was trying to live up to the spiritness of what life was showing me. And, you know, I just later down the road, when somebody handed me an astrology book, I looked at it and went, oh my gosh, opened the book, and everything like flashed back to me of this is part of the ingredients of how life works. We have a beginning and we have an ending, and then there's things in between, you know, the transits and other stuff like that. But you don't have to play that role and that plan, because life is a spiral, not just a flat piece. And until people can recognize, it's not like you're going to get in the elevator and go from ground 2 to ground 4. It's already mingled there. It's just that you have to be able to accept the vibrations to entertain it.
That's right. Without being accepting it and making it a long-lasting memory, it won't create the change that we want.
Well, I know I'm a teacher. I'm a Taurus, and I mean, I even had the degree to prove it. People, just like you said, 90% of them won't get a clue.
Okay. This is my equation. 90% of the people understand 10% of whatever is presented in totality of this wholeness of the system. Of that 10% that understand, they're really only getting 30% of the definition of what we're trying to get across.
Whoa, no wonder I'm frustrated.
And it's because the way people learn. Example, in 2014, when YouTube changed a lot of their ways they process videos and what could or couldn't go viral anymore, is what limited so many people's way of getting noticed for what it is that they were doing at the time that the collective mind was all thinking about at the same time. That's what a viral video is.
Yeah, and it's all usually stupidity. Somebody hurting somebody else or laughing at somebody else in pain. That doesn't make sense to me. But I like kitty videos. No, come on.
Yeah, I do too. I like watching cats missing jumps.
Oh. No, I love where the lion people were just with nature and let life happen, and the lions recognized them at an older age and came up and loved on the humans. I mean,
yeah, I saw that video too.
I mean, come on, this is what
watching the Korean homeless kid go on, and Korea's got musical talent, and all of a sudden doing this opera song that made everyone cry instantly
because he lived through his heart, and music was the sound of his heart. That is so cool. That is so cool. Well, I hope Bill Clinton doesn't get involved with the child. Oh my gosh, such ugly we've had to witness this last year too, Andrew. And people got to not take that personally either, because heck, I can't claim anything that's out there to be valid. It wasn't witnessed in front of me.
Mm-hmm. I have called this whole unraveling of the crap that's in front of us, all the propaganda, the Trump this, it's a big giant Three Stooges show. And I've been saying that since 2012.
Stooges at all.
It's like a big Three Stooges show.
No thanks. No thanks. Oh gosh. And it is rather interesting that we don't even know the energies that we bestow that others see in so many different ways and means.
There you go.
I'm like always accused to be the troublemaker, and I'm like, no, man, I don't want no trouble.
It's because you have ideas that are revolutionary to a system that's mired in mediocrity.
Yeah, right. How dare I? Who'd have thunk it?
Exactly. What? I can't engage my genius whenever I want? Get myself out of mediocrity?
Oh, but that's the story of my existence. It really is. It's been for quite some time, but we keep still growing. There's never an end. See, people want that epiphany to say, it's over, I'm done with it. Well, I don't think so. And so that's why their lives are miserable, because they think that the now isn't the treasure. They think it's in the future. Well, unless you treasure now, you're not going to have a treasured future.
Mm-hmm. So this is where people get stuck in their old points of view. Oh, I'm going to be this person or this person, and then they never become that person, but they think they are. I've
been called an overachiever because I've achieved a whole lot. So I get the whole drift, but why not have different coats? Didn't Joseph have a coat of many colors? I mean, come on. Isn't that self-sufficiency? I mean, please.
I'm the type of person that whenever I find myself in a state of boredom, and since a very young kid, I go out and learn a new skill.
Materials come to me, and then I just create something out of it. That's all. That's how I do it. But we'll be right back. Yes, indeedy.
Episode.com.
Welcome back to the elemental part of our discussion in life. Which side are you on? None.
As soon as you choose a side, you've already lost.
Yeah, seriously. I definitely agree. I never do anything exactly alike. Not to my ability of just that's life. Nothing can be as perfect as we think that it should be. That's just a programming somebody else's agenda.
Yes. Breaking down our own individual agendas is what gets us through the short term, so we can have a long-term, stable life path process that shows us how to become self-illuminated masters.
What?
It's through the process of self-illumination do we learn how to shed off the ability for the system to put on a puppet show that we believe in.
Oh, right. Well, because if they can't recognize we've been lied to by each system, then how do you follow a lie? Right. I can't live a lie.
System and every subsystem within it, all lying.
No, we could talk CERN about that. The lying.
Well,
Oh,
we're in a unique scenario where what we can teach in these moments is
Right.
choice, and that there are times we made choices that we adhere to. These are choice points of adherence that affect us 5, 10, and 20 years later. When we really want to change ourselves, we've got to go back to those original choice points of adherence that said, this is my belief, I'm changing this now, and this is what has created a fork in myself. One side goes on, one side doesn't. When we go back to that choice points of adherence, that linear journey of that choice is still there, but we're allowed to take the second journey. And this is where we lose nothing and gain a whole new point of view, because we as beings can explore all options. It's a matter if we're doing it through the perception of linear time or our multidimensional sight, belief, concepts, and understandings.
Yeah, the comprehension is vast, but it is doable.
Mm-hmm.
Very
I would even call it vast. There's so many simple ways to apply what I call a barometric pressure test. Is this an internal process within me, or is it external? Am I in a process of separation of densities, meaning whatever I'm going through is guiding me to be around people, places, and things of a similar vibration? And those people who are not going on that journey are not that signature frequency match for me. And it'll be their duty to learn how to live without me as a signature frequency match, for I cannot lower or change my frequency when I'm on my natural co-creative evolutionary path.
Indeed. I'm feeling it.
We do leave people behind out of love. For when
Right.
they're ready to take up the journey that's similar to ours, they will be there in their fullness of authentic self, and they will see us as the authentic journeyer.
Right.
They have no judgment on us, and we will have no judgment on them.
Yep. Going through that too. There is always that, I want to say, safety net of just having the knowing that you are really provided for. And it is that you provide for yourself that helps provide with others, not for others, with others.
The planet provides us this reality and light, but it is our responsibility and legacy for ourselves to make the best out of it, to create and co-create with it, to not be dependent or codependent on its process for our individual growth.
Yeah, reality is an interesting game. And then everybody's taught to play games on their computers and all these other things. And they don't even recognize that they're putting energy into such an extra false reality, it becomes them as well.
That's right.
And it's like, oh my gosh. But I did know, because way back when my kids were programming letter by dot by dash, that the controllers and the stuff like that it was going to be for the Air Force to use it against this with the drones and the other stuff like that. And it's like, just to even recognize that everybody was looking for entertainment, a release, a replay, or break from reality, when all it's done is create its own separate reality that people don't even know is having effect on the total reality. Blow things up, kill them suckers, it's...
That is forced evolution, taking over the hierarchical system, using propaganda, false knowledge and wisdom to create a belief system and structure that uses patriotism against itself.
Sounds like commercials.
Uses materialism and consumerism to divide and conquer us, for us to separate into our own valued and non-valued processes.
Not that it's good for us.
No, materialism and consumerism is the great distraction from the beauty of nature.
It's also
you do not need a cell phone playing music to enjoy the beauty of nature. But there are so many people now that cannot be out in nature and not want to play a song because they don't even realize the music of nature anymore.
Yeah. I have a great video of us down by a river, and just the stories that I heard from the water flowing. You do just have to let go and listen. And then we had a big butterfly dance over the fallen log across the creek. I mean, there's just so much life and so much beauty that can be bestowed on you. That is nature's music. Okay. And people just don't want to hear it. Heck, I hear music when I'm washing dishes.
That's a little different. So here, I have a story to share with you. So when cell phones really came out between 95 and 96, they became commonly available. And they had, the big cell phone companies, GTE and Verizon, were just founding. And kids could get cell phones, the first 18-year-olds, so on and so forth. And I worked at a mall at a coffee shop that was right next to the front door. And I was managing a whole bunch of them. And I remember coming in early Saturday morning and having 2 employees that were late and having to rush everything. And I'm watching these people come in and going to their jobs. And we had a door you would come in, a double set of doors and a little vestibule area, and you'd walk forward, and then there'd be a little fountain. And I would watch people fall into that fountain by being on their phones 4 or 5 times a day. Okay? Or texting and slam faces, glass doors 4 or 5 times a day. To a point we had a little pool with the people that were working, as how many people would slam into the glass or fall into the pool by the end of the day.
That's just too funny. Oh my gosh, I had to discipline myself because I call that my Aries moment. Not watching what I was doing and running into phone booths and stuff. So I had to deter my I had to discipline what I was paying attention to so I wouldn't hurt myself. And if they can't do that now in 92, that's just too funny. I didn't get a phone till 2010. I don't have one today, though.
I think that was closer to 97, 98.
But no, I don't like technology. I don't like the energies behind it, but I use it and I can appreciate what I use. But
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I never wanted it.
I shared that story because that was the very beginning where people weren't locked to a landline. And when you're locked to a landline, you give yourself a certain home-based focus. And when people started regularly getting cell phones, when they would go to talk to someone, they couldn't drive at the same time, they couldn't walk at the same time. But 20 years later now, you have people that are texting and driving and talking and driving, eating, talking, texting and driving, trying to do all of these multitask things, which has created a habit and structure of disconnectedness from themselves.
Yeah, no doubt, in the stuff that they're supposed to be responsible for.
Right. And in that state of disconnectedness, they believe it is natural. And then they try to come and understand what's going on in spirituality, and they are mired in mediocrity.
What do you mean?
They cannot see beyond their disconnectedness because they have such a short attention span before they want to engage their belief of ego genius that I can multitask while listening to this dense information and texting with a friend and pretending like I'm doing both simultaneously.
Ouch.
Yeah. That's why so many people are drive-by listeners.
Well, I'm glad I am multitasker, able.
It's one thing if you're listening to a show and doing dishes, laundry, but it's very different when you're listening to a show and texting someone and answering emails.
Right. Well, I was thinking about when my children were young, and always they have to have your attention when you're trying to do something. And when they tried to get my attention with 2x4s, that's a whole different structure. You got to treat everything different.
Right.
Yeah, my sons were radical. But I had to sit there and be cool, calm, and collected because I wasn't going to get in the middle of it and get beat up by a 2x4. Right. I can't control any of that. I can't control their behavior. I can either clap to the one who wins or, say, excuse me, but those 2x4s are for something else, Yeah.
Choose different weapons.
Oh, and they did. Oh, my gosh. They did. They did. We had the police called once because my husband was teaching them how to fight with a cane. And the neighbors couldn't handle it. We lived in a black neighborhood too, which was really something. And then we finally got white neighbors, and then it changed. But otherwise, I never looked at the structures of I'm not allowed. Why? You know.
Huh? So each day we live, we get a set of choices. As soon as we wake up, that first 10 minutes of the day is yours and sovereignly yours alone. And the nights before you go to sleep, that last 10 minutes is sovereignly yours and yours alone. When one truly makes that their true focus, they can accomplish great changes within themselves by allowing themselves to let go of reality long enough in that early morning process to be you fully, before the system starts engaging the programs that are you, that divest and divide your energy and your awareness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a few of those fleeting moments every now and then. What do you mean I made coffee a half hour ago? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But I don't take it personal.
Okay.
I'm not a mistake maker. I am a creator of how to change the opportunity from a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not always congenial for others to see, to believe either.
Oh, it's hard, yes, because there are a lot of people that don't want to see the problems that are right in front of them.
Yeah, I've been an arbitrator for a long time.
So then denial is a river in Egypt for people.
Oh, tell you what, hon. Oh, and it's not even just denial. It is that they think that they know that they have so much evidence to stand behind something so fiercely that they want to fight about it.
Right.
What the hell sense does that make?
Those are zealots who have
I've
lost
witnessed
their way
quite
into
a few of them.
Yeah.
Over their opinions, okay? Where I didn't even have anything to do with it, but I'm the one now in the middle of it.
Because you were forcefully entangled.
Oh, yeah, it seems to go that way sometimes.
Yep.
See what trouble you started? Well, yeah, wait a minute. No, I didn't get to see it, but I'm witnessing it now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. It really is okay, because I know my value and what my cost is. And most people don't recognize that everything will have a cost. And that it's not a value of currency that you can pay or anything else. It's just like a vast of wine waiting to be poured.
Yep.
Did that make sense?
Yep.
So
yeah. That's another alchemy topic I want to touch on real quick, is the creation of alcohol, wine, and beer. It is ancient since the dawn of alchemy. People have been pickling and brewing and doing things that were a much lower percentage alcohol than it is today. All the way up into, let's say, 1820, 1830, 1840, water was not pure. And people drank alcohol all the time, to the point that they had generally a 0.2 blood alcohol level all day long.
Whoa.
Okay? That was common throughout the world. That's why you have some major religions that state no alcohol, because their societies were uncontrollable until they figured out how to make clean water for everyone. So if you have a city of a village of more than like 35 people, you can never control the amount of feces that's creating garbage that's going into your water, bacteria.
Well, isn't that why they made abstinent?
Yes, because it was taking super pure refined alcohol and adding it to a barrel of water, which would kill the organisms in it.
Exactly.
Or they'd boil the water 3/4 of the way and then add the alcohol to it. Now, any local fruit, vegetable, anything that you would come into a person's home, and there'd be a pail there with a thing in it, which was your sip of water. It could be peach-based alcohol, and they pickled and brewed everything. So there's an alchemy there where one can go and get a beer kit from Walmart for $50.
My girlfriend used to take grapefruit concentrate stored in a big old bottle with one of those punching balls as the balloon for it to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
That was good magic.
Yeah. And that is where you can imprint to that living organism your whole life story your trials, your tribulations, all the lessons and knowledges that you've learned, so that that thing is not meant to be drunk, but meant to share space with you, just like a crystal.
Oh, that's interesting. I never saw that kind of concept, but that's really kind of cool. That's what I feel about my plants and my critters that I invite to come through. And
if you look at the science of alcohol brewing, it's yeast.
Right.
Yeast that is ancient.
But it's breath.
Old.
Because you can't have it without liquid and breath.
Okay.
That's
so
cool.
when one makes that next level, I mean, you could make it for a healing version. I know I've personally created beers that I have added to bath water, but it had all of my healing frequency, all of my healing knowledge in it.
Yeah, but that goes with everything we do, Andrew. Come on. I bake my breads with love in them, and people feel it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know it's not just something that is mediocre. It means something. Everything has a value.
Right.
Go ahead.
So with alcohol, like hard alcohol, when it's gone through its brewing process, or beer, there is a very intense life blooming process, just like there is in the bread. But when you go to raise the bread and bake it within the same day, you don't have the same volume of bloom of life that you have in the alcohol. The alcohol will have 40 to 4,000 times the life bloom.
Interesting.
Right. So you see how fast your bread raises.
It's not that kind of bread, but go ahead.
Well,
they're
you
like dessert loaf breads.
And then the type of yeast you're using.
I don't use yeast. I shy away from yeast.
Okay. Anyways, in this process, they use a variety of yeasts and stuff to create the life force drive.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
And in that process is where you target the life force drive, the rapidly expanding life force, with your prayers, your groundingness, and your imprint for what it's going to be. So, like if I was doing a healing beer, it was to heal the skin, release the body, the toxins that are there. And then the alcohol becomes the medium between the skin to allow more toxins out. When I was
but what you're actually trying to say, Andrew, is know that what your intent is, because it provides more power to the structure of what you're trying to create.
Yes, and then it gets to co-create back with you. Because alcohols are items, are legacies. They can last for decades, and in some scenarios, centuries.
But you could do it with anything. Like if you were infusing honey with something, or...
honey may not have the same length of time in this linear time of life force. Where you have
that's interesting.
That can go 100 to 700 years and not lose a single process of taste. Only become more refined and refined.
Right.
Like an aging being.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yes.
So just to keep the life force going. Not to try to preserve it, but to just process
Keep it going. And then as it grows older, you continue a cyclical prayer of use with it. So you could make a bottle of wine, a keg of beer, a thing of hard alcohol, and have it in an object that you've blessed for as its container of life force. And then you begin to use it in your ceremonial or self-healing processes.
I just give it a hug.
I take it a level further. I make it a part of the community of energy beings that I'm working with.
Well, and it's the same. Like when I used to hand change back to my customers at my market booth, I would always send love through my fingers at them and hold the change above their hand until they could get it from me, because it was like, I really appreciate your purchase in that. And it's not like I want to say it, but I send it subliminally. And they would keep coming back for more, no matter what. So it is all magic, and I love it. And I'm so happy I'm able to play and know some of the rules, okay? And have a perspective enough to try to put it into material form so maybe other people can see it.
Yeah. So you do a whole bunch of different alchemies and tinctures and oils, don't you?
Ooh, baby. And I even have some from outside myself, as from others who have done theirs. So, yeah.
So have you ever brewed a hard alcohol?
Not to my nature. Now, I did do a beer. In fact, twice I've done a beer. I haven't done a wine because I really like sangria. And
so when you did your beer, do you remember the process that you used?
Not right offhand.
Did you cook it on a stove?
Gosh, honey, that was like 20-some years ago.
Okay, so there's different kinds of beer brewing processes that have been rediscovered from the.
I don't think there was any heat involved at all to activate anything.
Okay, so it
was just in the jug, you know.
Yeah, you're doing a cold brew. Anyways, those don't have the same amount of life force of what I'm talking about.
Oh.
So in the 1700s, they would brew beer. They'd go through its boiling brewing process, and then put it in kegs, where it then would gain.
Honey, I lived in St. Pete, Florida. Do you know how many field trips I went to go see Anheuser-Busch, the breweries?
Right. So these were wood kegs.
Right.
At times, there would just be a super powerful batch that they didn't change the ingredients level. But it was a super, super powerful batch. The yeast expanded manyfold, and then they'd put it into a keg that was previously had bourbon, whiskey, or something else in it.
Interesting.
And that would also have the same remnants of yeast, and they'd stick it in there, and it would be like what they would call, 100-year beer or 60-year beer. And it within 6 months or 8 months, it could be at 26 to 50% alcohol, a beer.
Interesting. Because I know the true organic healing of beer, not the processed stuff they sell you now, but
so it would come out as a almost like a golden light flowy molasses, and then they would add that to hot saltwater baths, and they'd be curing people of a variety of body-based ailments, because it could rapidly remove swollen joints from arthritis. And a variety of other things that were cyclical or swelling processes, or skin-based processes, or detox-based processes.
Oh, hops is one of the best herbals ever.
Right. And you're talking direct alcohol transfusion through the skin in a hot bath, a hot saline bath.
Right.
The alcohol floats at the top. And you're floating.
But it evaporates because it's in the hot water. That's what the tinctures are.
The hot water is, you're in a bath. It's only about 115, 110 degrees. It's not going to scald the skin. Right. The alcohol doesn't really evaporate till 186 to 192. So it's it's not steamed off.
Interesting. Well, it's not going to really harm you either.
No, so it is literally floating on the surface of the salt water, and then you get into the bath, and half your body's above and below the water, and then the salinity of the water will raise the body, so your body is constantly in the medium of this alcohol that's interacting with the saline water, which is then detoxing the skin.
Interesting.
Okay, and it's also antiseptic. Sorry.
It's all right. No sorry allowed here.
Yeah. So it's a perfect antiseptic for the skin.
And a disinfectant, too. Is that what you're trying to say?
All that stuff that refreshes the skin, the body, fully opens the pores. And then that medium is filled with all of the stuff you've added, hops. And then there's other things that can be added to, like, believe it or not, you can add tremendous amounts of oregano to a beer. So you can have because you wouldn't drink it. It tastes horrible. An oregano-based beer, but oregano.
I don't know. It's one of them cure-alls of all kinds of things.
Right, it's one of them cure-alls.
All right, sounds like we're done here, Andrew. I really appreciate it. We have to do this more often.
Yeah.
For listening to Revolution Radio.
Looking for a nightcap to fill your listening needs? Come join us on Spaced Out Radio with me, Dave Scott, right here on Revolution Radio. Monday through Friday for 3 hours a night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, we will take you down the supernatural path. From ET contact to the paranormal and all of the spiritual, cryptid, and conspiracy stories in between. You can find us right here on Revolution Radio, at spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter at spacedoutradio, and on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show. Spaced Out Radio. It's a night of talk and interaction. Are you experienced?